How have the Mavericks become the hottest team in the NBA? Plus, we dial up the Stein Line with Marc Stein for his news and notes on the Mavs. All that coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs Podcast. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys, coming your favorite team every single day at Kevin Gray Sports, at Tim_Cato, at Bobby Carella. And a little bit later on in our show, we'll dial up the Stein Line with our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, at the Stein Line. How have the Mavericks become the hottest team in the NBA? Plus, who deserves the credit for the Mavericks turnaround? A lot to get into on our show today. Really appreciate you joining us here on DLLS Sports here on YouTube. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe while you are here as the Mavericks get ready for the NBA Cup quarterfinal matchup with the Oklahoma City Thunder tomorrow. We'll get into a little bit of that preview in our show as well today. But fellas, let's just jump right into it as the Mavericks have won 11 of their last 12 games, have the longest current active winning streak in the NBA at 7 games, a season high 7 games above 500 at 15-8. No, excuse me, 8 games at 16-8, I should say. Make sure I get that right. So the question is, gentlemen, who deserves the credit, the most credit for the Mavericks turnaround over these last 12 games?
You know, I could sit here and give you a wishy-washy answer and say, well, it's a combination of all the players and, you know, everybody's producing, and there's always some truth to that. Of course it is. It's a team sport. To me, it's P.J. Washington, and it's pretty clearly P.J. Washington. He missed 5 games in the middle of the season. I mean, Dallas said they were playing all right. P.J. was not his best self who he's been since returning. You know, like in the first 7 games of the season, Dallas was 4-3. Then he goes out. They beat Chicago, and then they have that 4-game losing streak. And what was offensive rebounding was a problem. Like Dallas kept giving those up. Just the defense was not as stout as the team wanted it to be. And there's something missing. There's clearly something missing from those games. And so PJ Washington comes back in his first full game where he actually, not coming off the bench, limited minutes, but he is starting, playing his full minutes, is against Oklahoma City on the second night of a back-to-back. That's when he has 27 and 17. Single-handedly, he just comes in and he's an adult in the room. He says, I am going to go single-handedly fix this rebounding issue that's been plaguing the team. He seems like every game he's providing something unique and different. Like his stat line is always bouncing around in different ways. One game it'll be the assists that are up, and then another one he'll have some blocks, and then, in another one it will be offensive rebounding. But consistently he has been scoring and rebounding, defensive rebounding for this team. And I just think that it was so absent during that stretch of games that, that losing streak, that 4-game losing streak, and those 5 games that he was out. You just felt his absence so clearly, so palpably. And so for me, it's absolutely, when you talk about what inspired, what caused the turnaround, not the person perhaps, not the players who are the best on the team, who are the most influential. When you just talk about what changed from Dallas losing 4 straight to winning 11 of 12, to me, it's P.J. Washington.
We talked about a lot how P.J. Washington is arguably the most indispensable player on this team. Bobby's brought that point up numerous times in the way that he has displayed his versatility on both the offensive and defensive end. But as someone mentioned in the chat, Ashanti Way talking about the dog in P.J. Washington, he is the personification of that when it comes to this team. And P.J. Washington deserves a lot of credit when it comes to how this team has played. For me, I was decided between 2 individuals, and Bobby and I, we were talking about it, before the show, who deserves the most credit for the turnaround. And you know what? For a guy that is a time maligned on this team, a guy that sometimes gets a little bit of a bad rap because of maybe some of the decisions that he's made, I'm going to go with Jason Kidd. I'm going to go with the head coach and
Wow.
Jason Kidd, because one of the things, and look, I got to go back to when the Miami Heat were playing the Dallas Mavericks and Spencer Dinwiddie couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, and Jason Kidd said we left him in there because of his playmaking and the decision that he was making in terms of how he was getting other guys involved despite missing shots, and he continued to stick with Spencer Dinwiddie, and Dinwiddie now is playing at an extremely high level, knocking down shots. You think about the game against the Memphis Grizzlies, hitting 2 big threes to be able to help them win that game. Jason Kidd deserves a lot of credit here because he is managing a very deep rotation, having to make sure he's balancing guys' minutes. But Jason and his even-keeled nature, not getting too high or getting too low, and one of the words that he loves to use when it comes to talking about his team and how we evaluate them, especially when there's newcomers, is the word patience. And we had to exercise a lot of it through the first 12 games where they went 5-7. But over the next 12, a team that has won 11 of those games, Jason Kidd deserves a lot of credit for the ability to manage his team, to not only get the best out of his guys, but we know how much they enjoy playing for him, whether it be Luka Dončić or Kyrie Irving. Jason Kidd deserves a lot of credit for this because you can't win these kinds of games without some measure of good coaching. And we talked about this before. Jason Kidd is objectively a good coach. You may disagree at times with some of the after timeout plays or some of the decision-making when it comes to timeouts or management of the time in terms of games situations. But for the most part, this year, Jason Kidd has done a really good job with this team and deserves a lot of credit for the way that they've been able to keep themselves in it, even when things weren't going well. Jason Kidd definitely was a big part of that in my mind.
Yeah, given the very historically unprecedented nature of that losing streak where every single game came down to the last play and they kept coming this close. Like, I know it was early in the season, but very, very good chances that the vibes just become like desecrated beyond repair after that loss in Utah. But, you know, Kidd, for his part, has been very even-keeled and consistent. And one of the players that's been very even-keeled and consistent throughout this very, like, weird season where so many guys have been in and out is my honorable mention. That's Kyrie. Kyrie has been unbelievable. He has been unbelievable. The best player on the team this season. This season on the whole, he's just been incredible to watch. Super efficient. Should be an all-star. Kevin and I were having an interesting conversation. Is he going to get enough votes to be an all-star starter? Who knows?
Who knows?
We'll see. It's not long before polls open. But my winner came after I was kind of looking around whenever we started tossing this question around. And I said, man, it really feels like, okay, when Kyrie's on the floor, it feels like they've been really good. And it's true. The Mavs are outscoring their opponents by 6.3 points per 100 possessions when Kyrie's on the floor. Do you know who else's on-off net rating is positive this season? Every single player on the team.
Okay, yeah. That works.
Every single rotation player has a positive on-off net rating this season, which implies that they have a positive plus-minus. And do you know whose net rating is not negative when they're off the floor? Every single player on the team.
Okay.
So we're talking about a complete team, and this is a team that's been missing at times this season. Dante Exum for the whole time, Maxi Kleber a ton, PJ, like you said, for a stretch, Tim, and they lost without PJ, but they were still positive without him because of how good they've been since he's come back. They've been without Luka. Kyrie's missed a couple games. Every single player on the team decided to get cold on the same night for some reason. Like, there's been so many guys in and out, but this thing has remained super ultra steady, and that's why my winner, my answer for who deserves the most credit is Nico Harrison. Nico, shout out to you, bud. We have been asking for the entirety of the Luka era. We've been begging for a Mavs team to be assembled that can be really good with Luka, but also really good without Luka. Not just 500, please, hopium. No, good without Luka. And this Mavs team has been so good without Luka this year that a lot of Mavs fans think they're better without Luka than they are with him.
Yeah.
And the same could be said for Kyrie. When Kyrie's out, the Mavs have been just that they lost that game against Utah without Kyrie, but they've won a game without him. They've won plenty of games without him, last season and in the first season that he was with the team. Clay, in and out, doesn't matter. Like, they have built a team that can survive not just one absence to a key player, multiple absences to key players. They've won games down 2 or 3 starters this season. They've won games missing their entire second unit. Like, that is the sign that you have a really deep team. You have a team that's bought in. You have a team that has taken these games seriously. That's an extension not just of Nico's roster building, but also of Jay Kidd's coaching, also of the stars leading by example. So the answer is kind of everybody, but Nico to me is the guy that has created this system in which these players can thrive, created a program that players want to join, And also, this ties back to Kyrie. Nico and Kid have created a culture and an environment where the players can be themselves. And for somebody like Kyrie, that matters a whole lot. So I think everybody deserves some credit, but Nico, I think, deserves the most.
Yeah. I mean, these are good answers. I think if you're a Mavericks fan and you're hearing us say, one of the role-playing starters, but more importantly, you're saying the head coach and the general manager, that's a sign of a well-run team.
Mm-hmm.
That's a sign of a team that is more than its stars. The two most important players to the Dallas Mavericks is Luka Dončić and it's Kyrie Irving. There's no question about that. But the fact that we're talking about the turnaround, we're talking about why this team has been dominant over the past 12 games and why this is something that we basically just expect. This is finally the team that we thought we were going to see that coming together. It's a great thing for your team to be, for the praise to be going to the people in charge of the people leading it. There have been seasons where Luka is responsible for every win. How'd those seasons go?
Not very well.
Not well.
Not great.
Not well. There was, when Dallas missed the playoffs entirely, every single game they won, and there weren't many down the stretch, every single game they won was because of Luka and Kyrie. That wasn't a sustainable model. What is sustainable? What is good? When you have a good NBA team that you can trust, that you view as a legitimate title contender, it comes because it is a team-wide effort, spurred on, carried forth by the head coach, by the front office, by the planning, by the strategy that you take into the season, that you build the roster with. And that is what is shown over this stretch, over this dominant stretch from Dallas. To me, it's more than one player, and it's about time because we've seen that story too often. This is a much healthier, a much more dangerous, a much fuller, more complete team. You've got to feel great about that if you're a Mavs fan.
Can I leap in and say one more thing? So it's really important to stress this. Like Jerry Krause, the architect of the Bulls title teams in the 90s, once famously said, "Players don't win titles, organizations do." And it's like, buddy, Michael Jordan won those championships. So by crediting Nico and J Kid, we're not in any way diminishing Luka and Kyrie's contributions, but part of the challenge and part of the success of building a roster is having this clear-cut hierarchy in place, right? Not just having Luka as your best player, but having Kyrie, who is a co-star, who on some nights is your best player, and for this season has been your best player, but publicly and very likely privately is this is Luka's team. I'm the co-star. I'm the second guy. So there's no drama there between those top two players. How many star duos have issues from the jump?
Yeah.
Ask some of Kyrie's former teammates. How about having role players like earlier in the Luka era? The Mavs had a lineup full of role players who were good at what they did, but could not step above their role. I'm a great seventh player, and that's what I am.
Yep.
PJ Washington had 27 points against OKC in a win. PJ's their fourth or fifth best player in their starting five, but he's been their best player sometime. Clay has been really good at spacing the floor. Lively is maybe a top 10 big man in the NBA already. They have so many guys that are role players, quote unquote, but that are bought into that role, but that are probably way better than the role that they're cast for.
Sure.
But they're cool with it because they want to win.
Yeah.
And getting guys that want to win, getting guys that are bought in, all that stuff, that does come from the top. So Jerry Krause was kind of right. Also, this goes nowhere without Luka and Kyrie, but part of the reason that they're so simpatico, everyone kind of shares the credit for this thing. It's not just the players are great. It's also the front office is great. It's also that the role players are great. Everything is clicking the way it should be.
And you kind of said this, but I just want to put the nail on the head, whatever that expression is. Luka had to buy in. Luka was very comfortable playing the way that he's played in Dallas. Pretty much the entire Luka era. He has been the ball dominant, usage leading, most touches in the league, most time on the ball, most time of possession. He has been that player. And Luka is not in the front office. He is not orchestrating what they do, but obviously he has, some level of influence. He understands the vision that the front office, the front office is very open with the vision and what they see as best for the team. And they bring that to Luka. And Luka had to be willing to be oh, you guys want to bring in more ball handlers to take touches away from me? Because, and then, obviously the front office was this is a long-term plan for you to be your best in the playoffs. But Luka still had to buy into that. That is this team is a little bit different than any Mavericks team he has played on before. This is, he hasn't played on a team like this really since Real Madrid, honestly.
Yeah.
And for him to buy into that, I think that's just as important. So, as much as, if there is an aspect of Luka that has been directly responsible for this, that's the aspect. It's the willingness to buy into a slightly different vision of how he is going to be, the leader of this team, the best player on the court, but it's going to be just a little bit different than how it's looked. And I think that has been just as important to, all of this making sense and clicking into place.
There are a lot of guys responsible for the turnaround of the Dallas Mavericks. Those are some of the guys that have been huge parts of this Mavericks turnaround, having won 11 of their last 12 games, becoming the hottest team in the NBA. More on how the Mavericks have turned things around from a slow start to what has become a juggernaut in the NBA. Plus, we take an early look ahead to the game between the Thunder and the Mavericks in the NBA Cup Quarterfinal. Plus, we'll have Marc Stein a little bit later on in our show as well as we dial up the Stein Line. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs Podcast. Well, before we get there, let me talk to you about Sleeper. Sleeper, the best fantasy league platform out there, now allows you to put your ball nows to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. Cowboys taking on the Bengals on Monday Night Football. Need a big game from CeeDee Lamb. I'm taking him to have at least 50 receiving yards in this game to help the Cowboys try to win their third straight if you're into the Cowboys winning games at this point of the season. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries so you can stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. So if you think you have what it takes, make sure you download the Sleeper app and use code DLLS Mavs. For a limited time, new users can now get their first deposit matched 100% up to $1,500, the largest deposit match ever for Sleepers. So terms and conditions apply. See Sleepers terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states, so you make sure you check out Sleeper today.
Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats. But Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, speed. So competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anybody who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. Empire's philosophy is to help you find what you need, not to overwhelm you with hundreds of thousands of choices and substitutions. They just have the best floor. They have the right floor for you that you need. They have a virtual floor designer, and it's a great way to see how your new floor will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture, and instantly you can see how a new floor might look in your room. Shopping at floors at a big box store can be frustrating. That's why it's just easiest to use Empire Today. You can schedule a free in-home estimate right now. And all listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions do apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
As we continue here on the DLLS Mavs Podcast, deserving the most credit for the Mavericks turnaround. Plus, we take a quick look ahead to the Mavericks taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder in the NBA Cup on Tuesday night, with the winner punching their ticket to Las Vegas for the semifinals. Plus, at 1:30, we will have our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, joining us as he provides us his news and notes around the league and, of course, for your Dallas Mavericks. Wanted to finish up this conversation that we were having about who deserves the most credit for the Mavericks turnaround, and really a lot of great answers. We had a lot of great answers in our chat as well, whether it be PJ Washington, Jason Kidd, Kyrie Irving, obviously getting a lot of love. He's had a terrific start to his season. And one of the things that you guys brought up that made me think about not just the way that PJ Washington has played or the way that Kyrie Irving or the way that Nico Harris has put this team together, the collective voice that they are playing under in Jason Kidd and how he has got all of them to buy into what he is selling night in and night out. I think about the example with Quentin Grimes, for example, was DNP'd in a game against the Denver Nuggets, but responded and played well, knocking down three-pointers defensively. He could have easily decided to not play the way that he was capable of in responding to the benching by Jason Kidd, but every button that Kidd has continued to push has worked so far, and you have to give him a lot of credit for being able to understand what buttons to push when and what ones not to push, because it's just as important what buttons to know not to push and the ones that you know that you need to in order to try and win games. I think collectively for all of us, we're recognizing that every single aspect of this team, whether it be the coaching, the way that the team's been put together, the players responding to everything, it's all working in perfect harmony right now. And again, it's not going to say that they're going to win 12 out of 13, 15 out of whatever the case may be, but the process in which they've gotten there, I think, is the big takeaway in what they've done over the last 11 out of 12 games here.
I mean, he has pushed some wrong buttons. The question is, does he have the overall overall vision, the bird's eye view of this team that he is making the right decisions that will lead to the right results, even if you look at a macro way, individually here and there, one player playing too long in an overtime game, one player getting a DMP. I think the Quentin Grimes thing is a great example. We have no clue sitting here whether that sparked his season. Maybe Quentin Grimes could have played in that game, and Dallas, maybe they win. Maybe he makes some of those threes that were missed by players who were taking his minutes. And maybe that 4-game losing streak was, had a win in the middle, and all of a sudden, our perspective is completely different. But Quentin Grimes is producing. And so to some extent, it doesn't really matter. If that's what Jason Kidd thought was needed, whether it was needed or not, he has gotten the best out of these players. And I just don't know. We don't know. We thought it was odd at the time, that DMP, and now he's playing well. And so if that's what the coach who is consistently getting the team to where they need to be, within his vision of what this team is and where he wants them to be headed, if that's the choice he made, then you live with that choice. It's as simple as that. And I think it's just a good reminder that, Jason Kidd has always been this way, but he has a very, very broad perspective. He doesn't, he views every game as part of the 82-game schedule. As much as that can be done, as much as he's going to still say the coaching cliches of you got to take it one game at a time or not thinking ahead. I think those are a little bit of cliches for him. I think especially early in the season, he does view it in a very broad, all-encompassing way. And the key, and clearly it's working out. So it's hard to, in that context, it's hard to second guess any individual, any small decision when you see the big picture finally coming into focus.
And the Mavericks at 16-8, 8 games above 500, 8-5 away from the American Airlines Center, will take their show on the road when they take on the Oklahoma City Thunder on Tuesday evening with tip-off at 8:30 p.m. Our pregame show will begin at 8 o'clock. We will also have our very first watch-along of the season, so make sure you're tuned in to DLLS Mavs beginning at 8 o'clock with our pregame show, continuing throughout the course of the evening.
Everyone in Discord about to find out what I say during games.
They are. They're definitely about to find out.
The diehards have been talking.
Yes.
All right.
And we're going to answer some of your questions as well a little bit later on in the show when it comes to your favorite part.
Yeah, if you're a diehard, check the Discord.
Of the season for your Dallas Mavericks. But arguably the best matchup of the quarterfinals in the NBA Cup, featuring your Mavericks taking on the Thunder, who are 18-5 themselves. They're 9-2 at home so far this year. A lot of star power in this game. Obviously, Luka Dončić, Kyrie Irving for your Dallas Mavericks. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way for OKC as a leading.
Lou Dort.
Yeah. We're not going to talk about Lou Dort on this show because he's out here doing a lot. See Brandon Ingram if you want to know what I'm talking about. But at the same time, the Thunder are the West favorite coming into the season. The Mavericks, of course, playing themselves right into that conversation throughout the course of the year. This should be a fun matchup as the Mavericks look for their 8th straight win. And honestly, kind of a cool bookend to what was, you mentioned with PJ Washington and how well that he's contributed to the turnaround. That 27-point, 17-rebound game that he had against the Thunder, one of the signature moments of this 11 out of 12 game run that they've won here. Now they get to go back to Oklahoma City with a chance to get to Vegas for the semifinals later on this week.
Much different Mavs team now than the one that went to OKC, just in terms of personnel available. I mean, there was no Luka in that game. OKC, obviously, they have Hardenstein now, and he wasn't available, and neither was anybody else taller than 6'5". So kind of a tactical bullying by the Mavs in that game. They did the Neanderthal thing of, I'm bigger than you, and I'm just going to reach up and put the ball right in the rim. Thank you very much. They're probably not going to be able to do that this time around. OKC, have they lost since then? They've lost, I think, maybe one time since then, too. These teams are both absolutely on cruise control right now.
Isaiah Hartenstein is back. He played 30 minutes in the last game. So, at least more than half the game, Dallas can expect to not be facing these micro lineups.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like Jalen Williams, the tall one, the center. He hasn't played yet this season. He's close. It's possible he's back for this game, but
Chet obviously still out.
TBD.
He'll be out for a while.
Chet's very out.
And, Hardenstein is the kind of big that, not offensively, that bothers the Mavs because he's not a shooter, but he is really good at floaters. He's really active around the offensive glass, and the Mavs at times struggle with those two things because, especially whenever Gafford is on the floor, but Gafford and Lively both are just big-time shot contesters. They want to try and alter shots, and so in order to do that, you got to sag way off your man and protect the rim, and Shai is going to get past his guy, so you're rotating over to help on Shai or on Jalen Williams or on Cason Wallace or whoever else putting the ball to on the floor. And if you step off of most big men, you don't really have to worry about them if they're like 7 or 8 feet away from the rim. But Hartenstein, that's like a layup for him. So I expect Hartenstein to get a lot of those floaters. And then if you're too busy contesting Shai's shot and you alter it enough for him to miss it, well, then you got a 7'1" guy there for the putback or however tall he is. He might only be 6'9", but on OKC, he's like 8 feet tall.
He's a big dude. Yes.
Yeah, so it's going to be a much different challenge for them. But it really feels like, obviously we live in the Mavs world, but it feels like the hype for this game is completely out of control. So I expect both teams to just be playing their ass off tomorrow. Like I'm really, really excited for this game.
Yeah, I mean the players have talked about feeling a little bit more juice for these games, at least like the finale. The players talked about that. I think it's going to have a little bit of a playoff feel.
The Thunder, by the way, have lost twice since the Mavericks beat them back on November 17th. They lost actually 2 days later to the San Antonio Spurs.
That's right. Okay, yeah.
And then they lost on the road to the Houston Rockets on December the 1st. So, yeah, they've only lost twice since that game. And, of course, they're at 18-5. And for the Mavericks, look, a team that is as hot as any in the league, but most importantly, not just the implications for the NBA Cup, obviously, but you mentioned it with Isaiah Hartenstein being back as well. You can look at this game as an early season measuring stick game for the Mavericks as well, a team that's not intimidated and going to Oklahoma City, having obviously won in the Western Conference semifinals there a year ago, obviously beating them so far this year, but a team that they're going to be looking at and that everyone's going to be looking at throughout the course of the regular season as the team that they believe could see them in a Western Conference Finals matchup, potentially. So 2 of the best teams in the NBA with an NBA Cup implications game on the line. It should be a lot of fun for these 2 teams and what they get together for.
Yeah, and one other guy that didn't play in that game that I'm assuming is going to be available tomorrow is Alex Caruso. How about this? When Caruso's been on the floor this season, the Thunder have a 96.7 defensive rating, which is literally impossible to even imagine. Isaiah Hartenstein, 8 games played, 237 minutes, 97.2 defensive rating whenever he's on the floor, and a 17.6 net rating. The Thunder are incredibly good. They're incredibly good. Now, neither of those 2 guys played whenever the Mavs went there. Of course, the Mavs didn't have Luka. Was that also the second night of a back-to-back?
It was the second night of a back-to-back. Yeah, no Luka, but pretty much everybody else.
The Mavs are short-handed too, but like OKC, I cannot stress this enough. OKC is something fierce. They are by far the favorite in the Western Conference right now in terms of record, all their stats. They've been banged up all year. They still have the best record in the league, or in the West. But the Mavs are right behind them. The Mavs are this close to being as good as OKC. And tomorrow they have a chance to show that, yeah, we are better than OKC. And I think that they're going to try and do it, man. This is a proud team. The Mavs are a proud, confident team. I do not believe that they're afraid of going in there and winning. They've done it a lot lately, and I think they want to keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas has some statement wins. Obviously, they have a great win against OKC. This win against the Thunder, if that's what they do, if they can win tomorrow night, this means a bit more to me. I mean, both teams are just a little bit healthier, a little bit, not on the second night of the back-to-back. You've got the rest equalized. You've got the rosters more equalized. And yeah, for me, I mean, it's the Mavericks lose this game. They've made enough statements. To me personally, what I am curious is how they look against somebody that I think they're going to have to go through to make it back to the NBA Finals. I just want to see how the matchups start to evolve even more, and evolve with the new additions out there for Oklahoma City in Hartenstein and Caruso. So for me, that's really what I'm watching in a very preview-y. How does this game? What does this game show us that we're going to see in May? Because I genuinely think that's far and away the likeliest outcome.
Well, and think bigger than that. Like, PJ Washington, you want your number retired? Like, go get me 25 points tomorrow night in a win. Like, he can ascend to He's already like a folk hero around here.
Yeah.
He can ascend to like NBA legend if he has another good game against the Thunder. Like everyone in the league knows PJ Washington owns the Thunder. Like, and this has happened over the last 6 months. Imagine if he does it again.
Well, let's hope he gets that chance because Jason Kidd says that Najee Marshall and PJ Washington are questionable for tomorrow's game due to illness.
Shut up.
Take
that back.
Like I'm just giving you the latest up to date when it comes to the Mavericks taking on the Thunder tomorrow. Jaden Hardy and Maxi Kleber already both ruled out for tomorrow's game.
They had all weekend.
So Maxi Kleber, who was out for the game due to illness against Toronto, will remain out. Jaden Hardy with his ankle sprain will remain out as well. But Najee Marshall and PJ Washington are questionable for tomorrow's game against the Thunder due to illness. I don't know what the hell this illness is that's been going around this team, but my gosh, I'm over it.
Tired of it.
I'm sure they are too.
Take a steroid shot in an emergency and get the heck out there.
But that's the latest coming from Jason Kidd, courtesy of Mike Curtis of the Dallas Morning News. Coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs podcast, our national NBA insider Marc Stein going to be joining us to provide us the latest news and notes on the Dallas Mavericks. And a little bit later on in our show, what's been your favorite part of the Mavericks season thus far? All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
Blue Chew. Sorry, I forgot it was my turn. They say first impressions are important, but what about lasting impressions? That's where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew helps boost your confidence in the bedroom so you can stay hard and perform at your very best. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. The process is simple. Go to BlueChew.com, sign up, and consult with one of their licensed medical providers. And once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And the best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward convos with strangers. You don't got to go wait in a line at a pharmacy. No, you can take them anytime, day or night too, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Does it work? Don't think you need it? Try it free for a month and see. You're going to love it, and your partner is going to love it too. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code ALLCITY at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code ALLCITY to receive your first month free. BlueChew.com for more details, important safety information, and we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the pod.
Let me talk to you about Rugged Road real quick. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com. Use code DLLS for 10% off to get dedicated outdoor wear and gear for adventurers who demand the best in our products that are designed with highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring they perform in the toughest conditions, whether you're on land or water. Rugged Road gear is built to accompany you on every adventure. Crafted to handle the toughest environments, their coolers are built to last, ensure they keep up with any adventure. Their coolers are guaranteed to keep their contents cool for up to 7 days, but oftentimes much longer than that. Perfect for a variety of outdoor activities, from fishing to tubing to tailgating. These coolers are designed to meet the needs of every outdoor or sports enthusiast. So gear up for your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers. They're reliable, durable, and built to be used. Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use code DLLS for 10% off today. As we are now joined by our national...
one sec.
Oh, he's coming.
Well, real quick, I pulled a PJ Washington stat during the break.
Okay.
In a Mavericks uniform, including the postseason, 4 of his 7 highest scoring games are against the Thunder.
It's unreal.
It really is unreal.
His highest scoring game is a game against the Warriors. When was that? That must have been right.
Uncanny is a right word. Okay.
Uncanny?
That's the correct word.
Yeah. But he scored 32 against the Warriors in April 2024, just before the postseason started. His next 3 high scoring games: Oklahoma City. 2 of them back to back in the playoff series. One of them was the win last month.
Dude, I mean, please don't do this, because arguing online with strangers is the single worst way to spend your time. Do literally anything else. But Thunder fans and Thunder media hate PJ Washington.
Oh, they can't stand him.
Those guys melt down online every time he makes a layup. Like, it is unbelievable. So if you want some entertainment, once the Mavs get up by like 10 or 15, start following them on Twitter. Have yourself a good night. Do not respond, but just enjoy.
One of my favorite comments from not just the game that he had against Oklahoma City, but obviously playing well over the last 10, 12 games, I had seen somewhere someone had commented and said, "Is PJ Washington a max player?" Like, he has been that good based on the way that he's played against Oklahoma City, and obviously, hopefully, he's available tomorrow. As again, Jason Kidd saying after practice today that PJ Washington and Najee Marshall are questionable with illness. Jaden Hardy and Maxi Kleber have both already been ruled out for tomorrow's game against the Thunder in the NBA Cup quarterfinal game. By the way, over 200 people watching us live right now. Would love for you to like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports while you're here as well.
Okay, we're ready now.
So Stein is here, so we're going to throw it in. But if the Mavs lose tomorrow night, they will play a makeup game against either the Rockets or the Warriors. If they win, obviously they go to Vegas. So the rest of the schedule will become apparent tomorrow night.
And with that, we bring in our national NBA insider. You can find him on X at the Stein Line.
Look at the lighting. That is like cinematic, man.
He is a proud Cal State Fullerton Titan. He is Marc Stein. Marc, what's going on?
Is the lighting bad? Because I realized I kind of
No, it's great. It's awesome.
Fine?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You look like a movie hero.
Because for a second I wasn't connected to Wi-Fi. Tanner was seeing pixelation. It was bad. So thank you guys for letting me join remotely today. Hectic reemergence to the United States, but I'm drifting back to normalcy. You guys, though, you just cited the news of the day. I am told Najee Marshall is getting closer, so that puts him in play. There's a chance that we will see him tomorrow night for the big game in City, but I'm actually surprised that Bobby Karalla responded so calmly to the news that PJ Oklahoma is now on the list of players afflicted with illness. So we don't know the severity, but the fact that he's questionable obviously does raise some level of concern. Hopefully he copes with it, and because obviously the Mavericks do not want to have to play their rivals and friends from Oklahoma City without PJ Washington.
I just want to go on record and say that I hope he ate some food that was like 1 day past the expiration date and just feels a little queasy, and he's going to be fine. That's what I hope this illness is for PJ. Please.
Otherwise, we're going to have to start speculating which plague is affecting them.
Dude.
Yeah, there's been a lot of illness, like long-lasting.
The South Beach flu has sort of evolved.
They need to go through with what is it, like UV lighting, or like the stuff that kills all the germs. Like they got to sanitize every inch of that practice facility of the team jet. Drastic measures. No more sickness.
Toronto, I did get to observe Najee Marshall's extensive pregame warmups. He had to wait till after all the guys who were playing in Toronto. He went last, but I watched him go through a pretty extensive workout, and I have to admit that I sidled up to him and I said, "Hey, man, I missed the knife." And
what did he say?
He just gave me a quick "yes, sir." So I took that to mean that he is on the rebound and on the mend. And like I said, that is a promising update on the Mavs side that they're listing him as questionable for tomorrow. And look, one of the most remarkable aspects of this run, shout out to the great Alan Rakowski of the Mavericks who furnished me with this stat. The Mavs have had 6 players in double figures in 10 of the last 11 games.
Wow.
So we said it often during the 5-7 start. Wasn't this team supposed to be deep? Where is this fabled depth that we were all hyped about? We have seen the depth displayed over and over and over again during this run.
And real quick on Najee, this is something I've also heard, and maybe it's obvious, but he's obviously been around the team. He's not quarantined. He has not been literally physically sick this entire time. It is just a process of reconditioning with him that has kind of held him out as well. Obviously, I think everybody understands that being sick is not the best thing for your aerobic health at all times, especially depending on the illness. So just a clarification on he's around the team. He's not at risk of infecting people further. That the conditioning, the getting back to basketball shape is my understanding more, at this point, the kind of the one hurdle left for him. That's why this is drawn out so long.
Agreed. And something else important to put on your guys' radar, we're a couple hours away from the every Monday announcement from the league office about Player of the Week honors. I would have to think that a certain number 77 is in the running at the very least for Player of the Week. The Mavs have the longest win streak in the league, obviously. They only played 3 games last week, right? Is my math right on that one?
That would be,
I
believe so,
think
yeah.
so.
yes.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, but he has triple doubles in his last 2 games. So something tells me he's a strong contender.
I got a real quick stat about what you were just saying, Mark. So the Mavs, you said, have had 6 players score in double figures or more, at least 6 players in double figures in 10 of their last 11 games. In 21-22, that was the first time the Mavs went to the conference finals in the Luka era. The Mavs had 6 or more players score in double figures 16 times all season. So
Wow.
we are already in some uncharted waters as it relates to this team having some depth. And then if we go back to last season when they went to the finals, they had 6 players or more score in double figures 13 times all season. And that team went to the finals. So we got some depth. This is like a 27-foot pool that we're in. There's so much room for activities on this roster.
A lot of depth.
Depthing. Hey, your adeptness on Basketball Reference is always appreciated. Like I said, just stay tuned to that inbox. You're going to start getting random requests from me. Bobby, can you figure this out? Because I love Basketball Reference, but man, I am terrible at actually operating it. So
happy to help anytime. Shout out Basketball Reference. Shout out Stathead. The whole gang.
At which you are churning those stats out is impressive.
As we have our national NBA insider Marc Stein with us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Obviously for you, Marc, not just your eye on the Mavericks, but across the league as well, with the Mavericks playing in what is arguably the featured game of the quarterfinals of the NBA Cup between themselves and the Thunder. What has been the buzz around the league about the quarterfinals getting underway, obviously, as we get ready to crown a new NBA Cup champion later on this week?
Well, as you guys know, and sometimes we're joking, sometimes we're serious. I've been a pretty loud critic about a lot of things NBA Cup related, but one area where I do have sympathy for the league is this week of schedule. It does put a huge strain on the league office to figure this out. You get the 22 teams that don't advance out of group play. You've got to manufacture games for them. You've got the 8 quarterfinalists who at this point only have 1 game on their schedule this week, because until we know the results of those quarterfinal games, we don't know what's going to happen to the 4 teams that don't advance. So this is a very funky stretch of schedule, and it does put a strain on the schedule makers. But I think as fans, we can all really get into the fact and embrace the fact that there's only 1 game tonight. That is very strange. Knicks at Toronto is the only game on the schedule, which is just weird. But Tuesday and Wednesday, it's a 2-game night in both cases, and the only games are the NBA Cup games. So the whole league is going to be watching. And like I said, 80+% of my complaints with the NBA Cup are all related to the group, the fake group stage and the point differential and the math that's even too hard for Bobby to keep up with. That's the stuff I can't stand. Once we get to this point, I mentioned it the other night. I pulled Jason Kidd aside after he did his press conference and asked him, I said, are these guys legit into this? And he's like, everybody's talking about it. This team wants badly to go to Vegas. These players want that. And so that part of it is tremendous. And I agree. I listened to you guys in the first segment. I agree with everything you said. I think tomorrow night you're going to see 2 teams that already are building up a little history because of the playoffs last year and the close proximity to which they both reside in relation to each other. And it's a major game with implications and a real prize attached to it. And yeah, someone else within the organization said we're going to see fireworks tomorrow night, and I totally agree.
Let's go.
Should be a hell of a night tomorrow in Oklahoma City as two of the best teams in the association between the Mavericks and the Thunder get together for the right to travel to Las Vegas. Hopefully for the Mavericks, they'll win to send Marc Stein to Vegas because I want to see Stein in Vegas. That's all I'm here for at this point is for Stein to get to Vegas so that he can enjoy this.
No one else is coming with me. I'm just going there by myself. If the Mavs,
we will live vicariously. Well, I'm gonna speak for myself. I'm gonna live vicariously through you if the Mavericks do, in fact, go to Vegas.
All right. I mean, I've already begun working on it, trying to do some logistics in advance because obviously
I believe I'm a TBD. So we'll see.
It's going to be a late night when we find out. It's going to be 11 something when we actually find out if it's happening.
Yeah.
We're going to be live on the internet for it.
That's right. Our watch along tomorrow for the game is starting at 8 o'clock with our pregame show and lasting throughout, who knows how long, into Wednesday morning at that point.
What are my friends in the chat saying today?
Someone wanted a poll earlier, right out of the gate during the intro music. Tanner, create a poll. Let's see if Stein is dapper or not. So we didn't actually make the poll.
I'm also being told I should go drink from the water cups at the Mavericks facility so I can get the sickness they're having. And then I can do gonzo journalism about, what I experienced.
Oh, real method actor.
With the Mavericks plague. I mean, it is kind of like a 2010 Vice headline. I infected myself with the Maverick plague. Here's how it went for me.
Well, I mean, they've played so well during the plague, they're going to miss the plague when it's finally out of everybody's system.
I don't know if that's true.
I'm about to say I'd rather see the team without it versus with it playing through it.
Well, we can revisit this if they start losing games.
Correct.
Marc, this when the closer a Saiyan gets to death, the stronger he becomes once he recovers. Obviously, this. I don't need to tell you it, but, I wonder if the Mavs are experimenting with that themselves.
I don't know what he's talking about. I do, but I don't.
No clue.
It's okay, Marc. We'll give you some time to go figure it out right now.
One more question. I want to ask one more. Mark Followell, our pal, had the great stat that this is the longest winning streak post-championship, tied for the longest winning streak. 7 in a row. So to get to 8, they have to beat the mighty Thunder. Bobby, are you going to be okay if they don't win this game? I mean, it would seem to be a defensible loss to lose a road game in Oklahoma City to end your streak.
Yeah, I'll be fine. I'll blame it on the schedule makers because it's the easy out here, Marc, is that head-to-head should not be a determining factor in the tiebreakers in the NBA Cup. You only play 4 games, so head-to-head just should be irrelevant. It should be point differential. The Mavs had the best point differential in the West. They should be hosting the Warriors tomorrow. They shouldn't be at OKC. So if they lose, they're victims of a corrupt system. If they win, they've overcome all odds and all sorts of adversity to do the unthinkable.
Tanner, please package that clip so I can send it to Olympic Tower. I want to.
Got it. You can always dial up the Stein Line on X at the Stein Line. He's our national NBA insider for the All City Network here and on the DLLS Mavs Podcast. He is Marc Stein. Marc, as always, appreciate it and look forward to talking to you tomorrow.
See you guys tomorrow night in studio.
Bye, Marc.
There he goes. Marc Stein, our national NBA insider here for the All City Network. Coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs Podcast, what has been your favorite part of the Mavericks' early portion of the season, especially over the last 12 games where they're 11-1? We'll discuss that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs Podcast.
First, I want to tell you how you can become a diehard. And folks, so many people have become diehards. So many people took advantage of that Cyber Monday deal, the Black Friday deal, of all that stuff. But hey, it is never too late to join in on the fun. We just had our biggest week ever in our company's history last week. Shout out Tim Legler, the GOAT, for blessing our channel with some Mavs analysis. KG linked up with him last week. Now, everything on our YouTube is free. Everything on our YouTube will be free, always. The best post-game, the best pre-game coverage, the best day-to-day coverage whenever we're lucky enough to record while the sun is out. But if you want to take your support for what we're doing here at DLLS Sports one step further, you can scan that QR code, click the link in the description below, or just go to alldlls.com/diehard, where you, for less than $7 a month, can change your life for the better by becoming a diehard. What happens whenever you do that is you get a free shirt of your choice when you sign up. We got more than 35 shirts to choose from. You also get a discount on any other stuff you would like to purchase, including very comfortable hoodies, flags, cups, mugs. I ordered some mugs. They're on the way. Cannot wait. I'm a big coffee guy, as you can tell. And as you can tell by the rate at which I'm speaking right now, I love coffee. Coffee. You also get to read our entire website, including post-game analysis, features, columns, opinions. We're going to start doing some film breakdowns very soon that are exclusive for diehards. We also got, now that it's trade season, unofficially starting next week, we're going to have all sorts of rumors and reporting on that front as well. If you want to read all that stuff, not only about the Mavs, but also about all the other teams in town, that is your key to unlock the vault, the treasure trove of information. You also get a diehard card. You can join the DLLS Discord, which we're going to be taking questions from y'all very soon there. And all sorts of other things. I want to shout out the people that became diehards over the weekend. Shout out Matthew, Robert, Chris, Joel, Jack, and Al. They all became diehards this weekend. Won't you join them, please?
AllDLLS.com. Become a diehard member today. Join us in our DLLS sports family. Show out that physical diehard card as well, and we'll be able to shout you out when you tag us on social media. As we finish up our show here today, what's been your favorite part about the Mavericks season thus far, as they have won 11 out of their last 12 games, 16-8, a season on 8 games above 500, looking for their 8th straight win tomorrow night when they take on the Oklahoma City Thunder for the right to get to Las Vegas for the NBA Cup semifinals. Let's hear from Kyrie Irving here real quick on what he believes has been the reason for the Mavericks turnaround over the last 12 games, seeing them having won 11 of those. Take a listen.
We've just been playing fearless, and we've had some carryover game to game where we knew that we didn't play our best basketball, and we just knew that we had to cover one another on the defensive end especially, and make sure we were getting all the defensive rebounds. A lot of games that we've been playing, we've been getting great stops, but we just got to finish the possession. So, these games have been going really well for us just because everybody's eating. When everybody eats, we all do well, and when we're playing well as a team, we're a tough team to stop.
And they have been a tough team to stop. Being tied together both offensively and defensively has seen them become the talk of the town when it comes to the rest of the association, which gets us to what our favorite part of the season has been for the Dallas Mavericks. I did want to make sure we acknowledge there was a super chat that we had a little bit earlier on. I don't know if a comment was actually associated to it.
There was like a little sticker.
Okay.
It was the number one.
Well,
so shout out.
We'll appreciate you, Yuchisha Suzuki. I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you for
for the 99-cent super chat in there. So let's get to it. Favorite part about the Mavericks season thus far: a slow start after the first 12 games, only winning 5 of those, but since then, best team in the association and on the floor and what they've been able to do. And we want to hear from you in our chat as well. And plus, we have some answers from our Discord as well.
Yeah, so we've made a habit on the postgame show of just declaring every single win the best win of the season. We're just like addicted to improvement.
Oh, I'm gonna keep doing that.
All the Mavericks are good, DNVR.
Yeah, just get over it. They're just good.
They're just good.
So I said, all right, well, if we can't make up our mind, we're too indecisive to decide. Let's go to the diehard. So I want to read some of their answers from the Discord and get y'all's takes, and maybe we can collectively come to a conclusion of what the best moment of the season has been. So Ben says the Minnesota and Denver wins. Now, Ben, fundamental misunderstanding of the question because I asked for one.
Maybe the moment.
Maybe he means they tied.
With a T, not an S on the end.
Both of those wins were very good. Both of those wins were very good.
The Denver win was better.
So Tim Cato's burner.
Minnesota is not good.
You're not doing a good job of not being Tim Cato's burner because Tim Cato's burner also said the Denver win. Because I was there, least favorite moment was the Denver loss because I was there. Were you there for the Denver loss?
When they lose to Denver again?
I don't know, a while ago.
Oh, yeah, I was there. No, I wasn't at the win. I was at the loss.
They
lost.
lost
was
Denver.
right before Clay's trip back to the Bay.
That's right, November 10th.
So, yeah, I did Denver and Golden State. I did that trip. I'll have some more trips coming up. I haven't traveled much this season, but I'm going to be out there.
Elliot said the OKC win. Cam Calloway says, I was euphoric with the Clay setting the franchise debut threes record.
That taking all the way back to the beginning of the season.
That was a fun night, man.
Yeah.
Marc says the OKC win. Ronedius agrees the OKC win. Kleb, PJ, Oklahoma. I think OKC might. Duck says standing on business. I think that might be the one. That the diehards agree on.
Yeah, see that the diehards agree on. I mean, I'll speak for me personally. I mean, December 3rd at the American Airlines Center, Bobby and I losing our collective minds as the Dallas Mavericks were down 15.
The Memphis one?
That's right. Down 15 to the Memphis Grizzlies, and Spencer Dinwiddie decided to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, down by 8 with 3.5 minutes left. And all of a sudden, Spencer Dinwiddie, PJ Washington, and the Mavericks go completely berserk from the three-point line and give what was probably the most, maybe not the most meaningful win of the season, but for me, the most fun win of the season, because the way that they had played, missing 14 free throws, 25 turnovers, it was a disgusting display of basketball for a majority of that game. But the Mavericks said enough was enough and decided to go beat what was a hot Memphis Grizzlies team at the time. And the Mavericks won that game 121-116. So while the PJ Oklahoma game will live, especially as we go through the rest of the season, for what that win actually meant, that for me was the most fun win of the season.
It was the most it felt like last season. Last season when they're just winning, always finding ways to win. Ways to win games. Which was the Dante's Inferno game? That was against Houston,
Rockets,
right?
Yeah.
Another big comeback game.
Yeah, huge comeback where the team had just been winning so much that at no point did you think they weren't going to come back and have a chance to win that. Even when looking realistically at the state of that game, I'm still talking about Houston, but I think it also applies to the Memphis win. Looking realistically at both games, you're like, well, they probably should lose this game, but deep down, I think there was always just a sense that maybe Dallas could come back and win it. I know for sure against Houston last season there was that sense. And why did Amin Thompson do all that to Maxey? Did we ever figure that out?
Very bizarre.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Anyway, my favorite moment. Does preseason count?
Preseason?
Yeah. I liked when Derek Lively took a full court and then spun and got a handle layup.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that
was hilarious.
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut. Okay.
That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
In that moment, I felt infinite, Like,
we thought the Mavs were going undefeated. Oh, Derek Lively doing this?
It's like, Jesus, this guy can dribble now?
He's doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good one,
perks
Tim.
of being a wall at the rim.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and he hasn't done it since.
No, he has not done it since.
Also hasn't taken a three.
Hasn't taken a three yet either.
Coward.
It's ridiculous.
We're still waiting on that.
It is ridiculous.
Get out there and do it.
Yeah, no, we want him to go out and do it. From the chat, Luke says the Atlanta win where everyone was sick. That was a big win.
That was a great one. Also, second night of the back-to-back, and the night after that loss in Miami, where I would forgive the team because everyone was sick and tired. Would have forgiven them if they would have lost that game, but Kyrie was like, we're not going to do that.
He was sick with it, as the title card said that night. Sarah, the last 2 minutes of the Grizzlies game was the best. Luke also chimes in again. He says the best loss was versus Utah because it led to the Mavs run that they're on right now. There's your mention of the Utah game for today. Congratulations.
Ding.
Tanner's not ready with the bell. Got it. There we go. Thank you, sir.
Did it.
Oh, they didn't? They wouldn't fill in the bell the last time?
Don't start that. So I was like, all right, guess I'll.
Well,
I don't care what they like or don't like.
I think it's funny.
Well, we're the taste makers.
I don't know why they would like it. We only ring it when we bring up the worst loss of the team's entire season.
Every single day.
Or the best loss of the entire season.
True.
For the record, I don't think I've brought up the Utah loss.
You literally did it on the postgame show the other night.
You also just did it right now.
No, Kevin did. The chat did. Chat did, and then Kevin said it.
But you literally brought it up on the postgame show the other night.
No, I didn't. There's no proof
you
of that.
did. Then you asked me to ring the bell.
Thank
after
you.
You did it. So.
Thank
you.
you
You go back.
You gonna argue with the video proof at this point? And you gonna argue with Tanner?
Wait, there's recorded evidence of our postgame shows.
Yes,
unfortunately,
very much so.
I thought it was like the radio.
No,
it goes out, dissipates into the.
They also record the radio too.
Thank you.
No, they don't. There's no.
Your logic game right now
way.
is way off, my guy. You gonna have to figure that out after the show's over with. Speaking
Whatever.
of our show, we really appreciate you joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast for today. We will be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Remember, boys and girls, late start time tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. as the Mavericks take on the Oklahoma City Thunder for the right to get to the semifinals in Las Vegas for the NBA Cup. It's our very first watch-along of the season, so make sure you join in with us at 8 p.m. for the pregame show. Stay with us through the entirety of the game and the postgame show as well. We'll be up all kinds of the night as the Mavericks take on the Thunder, so really looking forward to that and having that time with you as well. So make sure if you're not already a part, become part of our DLLS Sports family, become a diehard member today, and join our member-only Discord. All the benefits are bennies, as my guy Bobby would say, when it comes to becoming a member here at DLLS Sports. So again, 8 p.m. for our pregame show tomorrow. For Bobby Carella, Tim Cato, I'm your man Kevin Gray. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 8 p.m. for the DLLS Mavs pregame show. Y'all be good. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.